shut up. just shut up. I mean, if you've seen any of our videos, then you know that as lawyers, we're going to advise you to keep quiet. If you are interacting with police in a traffic stop, if you are under, some more serious investigation, if you have a pending court case, just shut up. Let's see what Andrew Tate does in an interview with a worldwide audience while he's under investigation for very serious criminal offenses. All right, let's see what we got here, Kelly.
Now, the BBC has questioned the controversial social media influencer Andrew Tate at his home in the Romanian capital, Bucharest. Tate is under house arrest and being investigated by Romanian prosecutors for accusations including rape, human trafficking and exploiting women, which he denies. The BBC challenged him on whether his views about women broadcast to his millions of online followers harmed young people, as many teachers and police officers claim. Well, the interview, which had no set conditions, was Tate's first since being released into house arrest from police custody last month.
Who's his PR person?
Yeah, who's his PR person?
Yeah.
Who's his lawyer?
Yeah, no set conditions.
Either way, don't need to be a Juris Doctor in Romania to know that the things you say can be used against you. I'm certain of that. So,
yeah, like in this interview?
Yeah, in this interview.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So is it already, obviously, red flag goes up like it's ill-advised.
Yeah.
So why does somebody do an interview?
Especially with no conditions.
Why does someone do a no conditions interview while their case is pending? Why does Trump always get on TV and talk, right?
Yeah.
Even though he's got a dozen cases pending against him, right? There's only one answer. I haven't even seen this interview yet, but there's one answer. It's ego.
We are doing an interview with you because you're facing some very serious allegations.
Correct.
Rape, human trafficking.
Yep.
And also because there's a great deal of concern about the things you say and the impact that they have on young people, on women.
I don't think the concern's about the things I say. I think the concern is for the level of influence I have and the reach I have.
Let's start with the allegations. Have you raped anybody?
Absolutely not.
Have you trafficked anybody?
Absolutely not.
Exploited any women for money?
Absolutely not.
But you have admitted using emotional manipulation to get women to work in the webcam industry for you.
No. We have an open criminal investigation. I am absolutely and utterly sure I'll be found innocent. I know the case better than you. I know it intimately and you don't.
Wow.
I have seen all the criminal files and the evidence against me and you haven't. I know the truth of what happened and you don't. And I'm telling you absolutely and utterly, I've never hurt anybody, that the case that's been put against me is completely and utterly fabricated, and I'm never going to be found guilty of anything. And it's very difficult for me to answer your in-depth questions because we're sitting here inside of the territory of Romania. I'm beholden to the Romanian legal system, and I'm not going to incriminate myself.
So what's your reaction to that a little bit?
My reaction is that he wasn't very well prepped for this interview.
Why? Why say that?
Like, he just right off the bat is so defensive,
Right.
and like telling her, like, you don't know anything more than I do. It's like when you prep somebody, whether it's to testify or for an interview, you would prep all that like right out of them.
Right. Yes, exactly. So back to my sort of initial analysis, which is why do you do a worldwide interview while you have criminal investigation pending? Maybe PR strategy, get out ahead of it, or ego. Those are the only two answers that I can come up with. And when you're that aggressive right off the bat, you're probably not helping your strategy and PR. It's your ego. So like he's already answered the question for me just based off of how aggressive he was in that response.
Right.
You have said, my job was to meet a girl, go on a few dates, sleep with her, get her to fall in love with me to the point where she'd do anything I say, and then get her on webcam so we could become rich together.
I don't think that's what I personally said. I think
That's exactly what you said on your website.
No, I've never said that. That's something that you found on the internet. Doesn't mean I've said it.
In your words.
And again, once again, if any female on the planet has a problem with me, I strongly recommend her to go to the police and try and pursue me for criminal charges. I'm actually such a nice person that I've never had
The BBC
anyone
has
come at
spoken
me.
to somebody since your arrest who says exactly those things, that with you it's all manipulation, there's an ulterior
Is this
motive
Sophie?
to everything
Is
you
this
do.
Sophie? Oh, Sophie, the fake name, no face. No,
I was so intent on wanting to please him and wanting him to be happy that I was just kind of, yeah, okay, do whatever you want.
And what is she
That's
accused? Has she
coercion.
accused me of a crime, this imaginary Sophie?
She's making the point that there is
Has she accused me of a crime?
emotional or psychological
I've
manipulation.
asked you a question, and I've allowed you into my house.
I'm asking you a question.
Correct, but you're not the boss here, because I've allowed you into my house.
I'm asking you the questions.
Correctly, and I'm telling you.
You get to decide the answers.
No, we're equal here. I've allowed you into my house. You don't come here with a position of authority. I'm doing you the favor as legacy media, giving you relevance by speaking to you. And I'm telling you now, this Sophie, which the BBC has invented, which there's no face of, nobody knows who she is.
The BBC did not invent
Of
her.
course not.
This is what manipulators do, though. They're like, don't look over here, look over here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to answer your question. I'm asking you a question. Oh, the Sophie person's fake. But
Right.
he's not ever actually answering her question is about these allegations. Like, do you manipulate women?
Right. Totally right. So this is an interview. This is not a criminal case. But if a jury were seeing someone acting like this,
Say
right?
testifying in this manner.
Testifying, that's probably not going to go that good for
Absolutely.
that
You
person.
lose all credibility. Like, if you're so defensive like this, it seems like you have something to hide.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we prep people to testify at trial all the time, whether it's, you know, typically, obviously, it's our client, right? But we don't only prep them for the questions that we ask, we also prep them for like cross-examination, adversarial questions.
Yep.
And we tell them, like, the briefer you could be, the calmer you could be, don't show emotion, like, don't, you know, negatively react and stuff, the more credible you're going to appear to the
Yes.
fact finder.
Yes, to don't show emotion to adverse questions against you. Right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Not like, obviously, if it's something super serious and you're upset,
Yes,
like
yes,
crying,
yes.
but yeah.
Just want to clarify.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I think those rules apply here. I mean, you got to know you're going to get some tough questions, some adversarial questions. These aren't going to be softballs, right?
Especially considering the nature of the allegation.
Yeah, exactly. They should be tough questions,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, that's why that's why it's not a good idea to do the interview.
Right.
I guess I got to get over that because he's definitely doing the interview.
Right.
I mean, and yeah, just generally speaking, like, in what scenario does that come across as likable? Like, none, right? It's two different things, though. Likable and credible, right? I mean, you could make an argument that he's credible so far. He knows the Sophie, he knows the allegations against him, right? He's sort of unequivocally said no and challenged them. So he may be credible, but certainly not likable.
No. I think one of the things that's tough so far in this interview, too, is what information have we even learned? It's been
Right.
a lot of, like, interrupting each other and,
Yep.
you know, who is, like, the bigger ego or whatever. But, yeah, not a lot of information gained.
Right.
And because you never invent anything. And she's not filed criminal charges against me. What are we talking about here? What is
We're
she saying?
talking about emotional manipulation
Has she-
into the sex industry for your financial gain.
Absolute garbage.
I'm describing women who are going to court to accuse you of rape and human
Sophie hasn't gone to
trafficking.
court. Sophie doesn't
And
exist.
I'm describing women who have spoken to the BBC at length
Sophie doesn't exist.
and other media organisations about what they say is emotional manipulation and coercion. And I'm quoting back to you your own words where you describe
They're not my words.
coercion
They're
and
words
emotional manipulation.
They're words you found on the internet, and Sophie doesn't exist.
On your
so let's move on to the next
website,
subject.
in your voice.
Move on to the next subject.
No, I think I'll stick on this one for a minute. So there's other places in that same website where you say you get girls to fall in love with you and they do it because they love you, because they want to do what you say. Convincing women to take part in some kind of business arrangement doesn't work long term because they're emotional. You've got to get them to fall in love with you.
Did you hear a criminal charge there? I mean, not on the surface, right? It depends what sort of actions are taken there. But I mean, I do think from a lawyer's perspective, it's important to, analyze what she's accusing him of. Is she accusing him of being a total manipulative jerk who, is trash? Or is she accusing him of a criminal offense that he could spend, time in prison for, right? Two separate things, certainly. Again, they can intersect, but two separate things. And without knowing more, she sounds like she's just calling him a jerk.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, when you are charged with aggravated criminal sexual abuse, which I would say would be the allegation here, and you're going to allege that the perpetrator has a position of influence over you, you also have to allege that there was force or that you had the inability to consent. either because, you weren't conscious or you have
Right.
some sort of like mental illness that affects that ability to consent. So if we're talking about, an adult woman
Right.
who has the ability to consent, I think that there would need to be also a force element, which we haven't heard thus far.
Right. And so then this is an attack on his character. Sounds very warranted, right? But the point is, it's an attack on his character, and so should you defend that openly while you have a criminal case? It's a tough call. I mean, I would say no. You're better off putting your ego aside, letting people think what they think, improving your hand on your court case in court, and that, you may not ever, people are charged with criminal offenses, found not guilty, and their reputation and likability never recovers, right? There's a stain on their reputation, even if they win the case.
Absolutely, especially in a sex case.
Yeah, absolutely, right? And that's a real problem and a real issue for somebody who's falsely accused, right? But I still don't think it's advisable that you jump out and get in front of trying to improve your likability and your reputation while you have the pending case. Once the case
Right.
is done with and there's no criminal charges, go on the PR campaign all you want.
Right. Yeah, I mean, think about like potential jurors who are seeing this and then are biased against him because they don't like him, or might think like because he used manipulation to do XYZ to women, it's not a far jump to think that he used manipulation to actually like
Right.
assault somebody, right?
Yep. And people watching this will not like him. I mean, I'm sure there's a subset of people who like him and follow him and all that stuff, right? I'm sure we'll get comments. But generally speaking, the lay person, which is most likely who would be on the jury, right?
Or the reasonable person.
Right. The reason is just not going, if they've seen this interview, they're not going to like him.
Yeah.
I don't like him.
Right. I
So-
do like her though, the interviewer.
Yeah,
I like
she-
how he was like, move on to the next topic. And she was like, no, I don't think I will actually.
Right, exactly.
Thank you though.
I mean, it's a clearly he said, I've invited you into my house. You don't come in as a position of authority. I'm doing you, legacy media,
Right.
a favor. That's clearly not the case because he, could walk up and get out of this interview at any
Yeah.
time.
Also, he's like-
he feels like he needs this interview.
Yeah.
What you've found are clips from the internet, some text from the internet, and you're going to sit here and tell me that that's the reason I should be
Your
doing
website, your
this.
words.
It's not my website.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Check my website. Next.
It's the website you've taken down, and I wonder why those comments have been taken down.
No website's been taken down. My website is the same, and it's been the same for a very long time. You are accusing me, I'm guessing.
See, those are things that can be solved. Like, those are factual issues. Like, is it his website or is it registered to him or his organization or whatever it is?
Absolutely.
There's a history of, even when websites are taken down, right? There's a history of what was posted. So that question, whatever the answer is, it is a known answer. And I can promise you, they can bicker about it here in an interview, but I can promise you, if it was relevant to the case and evidence in the case, they would get the answer and present it in court.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what's so dangerous about posting things on the internet. You can't just like delete them and then they're gone forever.
Exactly.
Yeah, a line that my grandpa used to say is don't lie when the truth can be verified.
Yep, that's a good line there, Grandpa.
What you're trying to say is you're accusing me, and you're trying to say that I'm guilty of the things I'm accused of, and that I'm emotionally manipulating people.
I'm saying that you have said you emotionally manipulated people here for your own financial gain.
No, absolutely not.
It's not only about the criminal allegations. It's a much bigger issue. You've got children's organisations in the UK, you've got rape organisations in the UK, you've got the police naming you by name as someone who has a harmful influence on children and on women in the UK and elsewhere because of the things you say, because of the way you present gender relations, the way you say men should treat women.
That's very upsetting.
Again, not a criminal charge. I just think it's important to splice those two and take, whatever. Take those two and separate them. What he's actually charged for criminally and what he's being accused of in terms of, relationships or relations with women, either individual women or as a whole, the damage he's doing, right? Those are two separate things.
Right. But thus far, is he even charged? I thought that they said that they were investigating still. So yeah, he's not even charged yet.
Sure.
All the more reason not to have an interview.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say almost from his point, it shouldn't matter, right? He was detained for a long period of time.
Sure.
Obviously, the rules are different in Romania than they are here, but he was detained for a long period of time while they were investigating. It's very much clearly an ongoing investigation still. So whether you're charged with it or you're very likely to be charged with it, or a very likely possibility that you may be charged with it in the future, the rules are still the same, which is, generally speaking, shut up.
Yeah, anything that you say can be used against you.
Yep.
But yeah, I totally agree. I mean, what the interviewer just asked didn't seem like that was about actual charges. It was basically saying like the content that you put forth is having a negative impact on children, gender relations.
Right. Which I'm not dismissing. It's I mean, and arguably it's even from a worldwide BBC News standpoint, it's an even more important issue than his criminal case, right? So I get why BBC maybe wants to talk about that. Is if he's got a long reach in terms of his influence and visibility, and he's affecting many more people than the ones that he's
Than like the victims of the crimes that he's facing. Yeah.
Exactly. So I get why BBC wants to talk about that. From his standpoint, though, what are you going to prioritize? Like, you could be going to prison, right? And so prioritize your own self-interest first, and then you can, once you're found not guilty of that, you can address more,
It does make you wonder who he's taking advice from, but maybe he's not taking the
May not.
good advice of the people.
Right, exactly.
And the reason that's very upsetting is because I know that's not true. I'm genuinely a good person. I believe my impact on the world is positive.
The
This is
reason we're
garbage.
asking you about these comments is because we've got the chief executive of Rape Crisis naming you individually as spreading a dangerous ideology of misogynistic rape culture.
Absolute.
It's the comments you make that are leading people to say things like this.
Absolute garbage.
National organizations who are saying that are blaming you for increasing levels of misogyny. Schools that are saying they are having increased incidents of girls being attacked, of female teachers being harassed
If that was
by
true,
pupils
if that-
because of you and your teaching
Well, that's
and your
absolute-
influence.
That's absolute garbage. I have never, ever encouraged a student to attack a teacher, male or female, ever. I preach hard work, discipline. I'm an athlete. I preach.
What
hand
about
control.
encouraging
I preach
emotional
religion.
manipulation?
No alcohol. I preach no knife crime. Every single problem with modern society, I'm against.
But
I'm
men and
teaching young
boys-
men. I'm teaching young men to be disciplined, to be diligent, to listen, to train, to work hard, to be exactly like me. And I'm saying that if men grew up like me, which are
Not great at
hardworking,
listening.
diligent, and some emotional control and stoic, we're gonna have a better society, not a worse society. To sit here and say that schools in England, which is a failing nation, which has knife crime going through the roof, violence going through the roof, men's mental health going through the roof, and they're going to all blame
Men's
me because
mental
I
health.
appeared on the internet
You
1 year
sell an
ago.
image of
is
success.
disingenuous. It's disingenuous.
You
and
sell
also,
an image of financial success
Correct.
with a Bugatti and a cigar, but it comes with a side order of misogyny.
How does having a Bugatti and a cigar come with misogyny?
I am asking you about things that you have said that have caused major national organizations, including the police, to worry about you by name. That's what I'm asking you about.
It's not what I said.
It's about what you have said that has caused such concern in the UK. And I want to put it to you that you don't really care about the harm it
That's not true.
causes because
That's not true.
making controversial statements like this online has made you a lot of money.
Okay, so first thing, I genuinely am a force for good in the world. You may not understand that yet, but you will eventually. And I
Oh, wow. That was some mansplaining.
Right, it was, yes. And you know you are if you need to tell it. Like, if you have to tell the whole world that you're a good person, you're probably not a good person, right? I mean, it's an interview where you see it's going to go nowhere. The BBC benefits by having a very popularly, often viewed interview. And I still have no idea how Andrew Tate. Is that his name? And I have no idea how Andrew Tate benefits from this.
I agree. Thus far, this seems like a terrible idea on his behalf.
And I genuinely believe I'm acting under the instruction of God to do good things, and I want to make the world a better place. I genuinely believe my legacy is a good legacy, and I believe that eventually, when the legacy media catches up, they're going to understand I'm a good, positive influence. I'm not interested in damaging the world for money, because if I was interested in damaging the world for money, I could have sold drugs, or I could make rap music and encourage everyone to stab each other like all the drill artists do.
Or you could make controversial statements online that attract a lot of followers who you then direct to your website where they pay to learn how to be like you.
I mean, I could make jokes online. Who doesn't? I mean, I could make a joke online.
Are you saying that all the controversial things you've said are jokes?
No, I'm saying that these organizations and the BBC who are going to sit here and pretend that I am the face of damaging the youth is absolutely garbage. It's completely disingenuous.
It makes you
and
money.
The reason, in fact, I've seen thousands and thousands of comments and have endless emails from women praising praising the fact that their sons are listening to me.
Does it not worry you?
The fact that
the things I'm saying, does it not worry you?
It would worry.
Are you not concerned about your influence?
It would worry me if I was genuinely damaging the world. But for you to sit here and say, Andrew, you've become the most Googled man in the world, you have billions of views, and one woman, is now saying that her husband is not the same man.
That was a shameless plug.
Thousands and thousands of people are saying the opposite. Well, then I would say
I've presented you with case after case after case, with quote after quote after quote of people who are genuinely concerned about the impact you're having, and you brush it off as if it's nothing.
No, what you have done is come here with an agenda. You've come here with loaded questions. You've come here with things taken out of context. You come here with things that you don't understand are satirical, and then you're going to also sit and say that one woman said that her boyfriend changed when he watched one of your videos. And then I don't know what you expect me to say to that.
Sarcastic, and jokes. No, that's how you explain the comments you make.
For you to sit down.
Would you like to apologize for any of them?
For you to sit down, it's fine. No, it's fine. It's easy. For you to sit down and say that one woman.
Yeah, that's another thing. Narcissists never apologize. Right. Like he was like, he literally just laughed in her face as to whether or not he should apologize.
And it looked like he's got somebody over there off camera trying to pull him out of it.
Yeah,
right?
he's like, no, I'm doing great.
I got this. Yeah, I'm
nailing this. But yeah, I mean, just think about all the ways he's talking about it, both sides of his mouth. Oh, those aren't my statements. Now they are his statements, but they're a joke or they're satirical and they don't have the influence. It's your fault because you came in here with an agenda. Like,
yes,
he can't keep his story straight.
Yep, totally right. If you could redo this whole thing, what would be more effective in terms of credit? Because again, trying to hit that nail on the head, credibility and likability is to sit. I think it's a hard thing to do, and I'm not saying I could nail this by any means, but you know, my point is the only real way to thread that needle is to probably sit there, let her make her point, and then show empathy, deny the criminal allegations, right? In a, sort of assertive but likable way, and then address the non-criminal but, the other stuff, the damaging to women in relationships and young men and everything like that. The non-criminal stuff, to display empathy, to say that that's never has been his intent.
Right.
He disagrees with it, but you understand where people's point of view comes from.
Right.
That's such a tough needle to thread.
Right. Or maybe at the time that he was creating this content, he didn't realize like the vast negative impact it would have, and now that it is being brought to his attention, he's doing X, Y, and Z to correct it.
That comes dangerously close to an apology.
Yeah.
But then could that apology be seen as an admission on a criminal charge?
I mean, that's why
so
we would
difficult.
never ever like suggest that he participate in this interview in this stage of the criminal case,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he should be calm. He should not interrupt her. He should try and like answer the specific question that she's asking. And then like when you prep somebody for this type of thing, you would have like buzzwords, like maybe things about yourself that you want to throw in there. Like, I donate $1 million a year to X organization,
Yeah, that's a good example. Really good example. Yep. And instead just going like this and yelling back, what I mean, has been his strategy.
Right. Terrible strategy.
Yep.
Her boyfriend watched an Andrew Tate video, and now he won't do the dishes.
School.
Or whatever your argument is. And that I'm somehow the worst, most dangerous man in the world because I have a car. Is just disingenuous. If you actually watch the things I say, if you actually watch my comments about women, I've done long podcasts for hours long about females, talking about protecting for them, providing for them, how I believe a woman should be treated in a relationship. I've done all of this.
Andrew Tate talking there to Lucy Williamson. Well, let's go straight to the newsroom, go straight to our education editor, Branwen Jeffries, who's there for us. And Branwen, I know that over the last recent while you've been talking to so many teachers about Andrew Tate. How concerned are they about the stuff he pumps out?
Matthew, teachers have spoken very vividly of how they are deeply worried about how the language, the attitudes, the behaviours that Andrew Tate models in his content are having a far-reaching influence on boys as young as 10 and 11 and certainly older teenagers. That, they say, is translating into a culture where casual sexism is normalised in UK schools, where the kind of language that you might hear in some of Andrew Tate's videos are then repeated by children back to teachers, and that, along with other online content, is contributing to sexual harassment in schools, to sexual assaults in schools.
How has this guy not gotten canceled? Pepe Le Pew got canceled, but this guy's still.
I mean, that's what happens with sort of decentralized media now, right? I mean, anyone can make a YouTube video, even idiots like us.
Even us.
The one thing that does rub me the wrong way, obviously, clearly, this was an ill-advised interview. I think he handled himself very poorly. I don't certainly want my kids watching his content, right? Is to blame him for everything that's wrong in society.
Right.
It's like, it reminds me very much of like, and he actually made the analogy of like rap music, like, oh, video games, right? Like, oh, young boys, whatever, right? I think that's a bridge too far. Can very well be a piece of the puzzle. I just think that the person making the argument, whether it's this woman, whether it is the interviewer or just anybody, they lose credibility when they try to, squarely put all the ills of society on this one person.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, statistically, nobody can prove that it's his content and his content alone. This education woman even indicated that there are other people out there like him that are pushing the same agenda. Sure. The other thing is too, these teachers and parents, they could be trying to make a difference. Don't let your kids watch this stuff.
Yes, right. All right, back to our legal analysis, though. It's a very simple one. Don't talk in a worldwide interview while you're under criminal investigation.
100%.
There you go. Keeping with our tradition of reacting here, Kelly, what's your grade? Let's first do the interviewer. How did she do in terms of conducting the interview?
I would give her a B. I mean, I think that she definitely seemed prepared. She had a notebook there. She had quotes directly from the website from, individuals that were coming forward and stuff. I did think she did a pretty good job of not letting him rile her up or bring her off topic. I just think maybe she could have done better at controlling the tempo, the question and answer. Yep. So that's why I say a B.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably right. I can't put my finger on what you could have done better, though, because he was so elusive. You know what I mean? You just, in a trial, if your witness is being elusive like that, you have to trust that your viewers, your jury or your viewers are seeing what you're seeing. And for lack of a better use of pejorative, let him hang himself with that. You know what I mean? Let him hang himself out to dry. You have to trust that your viewers are going to see the same poor, elusive behavior that you're seeing.
Yes.
I don't know if she did that. I think she tried to pin him down more, which it became clear very early on that you're just not going to pin this witness down.
Right.
So for that reason, I don't think it's an A, but she did almost all she could. Mm-hmm. How about Andrew Tate? How did he do in this interview?
I mean, I would definitely give him an F. A, just participating in the interview was a terrible idea, especially when you're being investigated, which, I mean, in this, at least clip that we saw, he didn't say much about the actual allegations. But as we said, anything you say can and will be used against you in court. And like we talked about, he was not likable at all. He just came off as a manipulative, misogynistic narcissist. And I definitely think it was on purpose that the interviewer was a female.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So yeah, just the way that he treated her and was disrespectful to her and interrupted her, you know, and kept ordering her, move on, next, stuff like
Yes.
that. Like, just he didn't do himself any favors. I don't
Put
see
her in her place. This is not you're not in a position of authority, here, right? They tried to put her in place.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see one benefit from this interview on his behalf.
No. And so as you think about this, how would someone get an A+? Like I've been saying, you have to thread that needle. It's an almost impossible task. He did not do that. How do you get an A? You probably just don't even do the interview. Like, that's not like an A+, right? But that's an A because, you know, we're not making a video on this, right? And the world audience isn't seeing you be an asshole. How do you get like a middle grade, like a C? It has to be like a non-remarkable interview, right? And it's got to be like, okay, it comes and goes, nothing doesn't change anything at all, right? That was almost like never going to happen, right? It's Andrew Tate, it's the BBC. You knew they were coming after you to make it so that only leaves an F, right? Like that, you know, he could have done way better, and it would probably still be an F. You know what I mean? But in terms of grading, in terms of the outcome of this interview, that's the way I see it, at least. And not only was he set up to get an F by doing the interview, he very much achieved that F with the content of his interview.
Yeah, he walked right into that F.
He did. There you have it. That's our grade for the Andrew Tate interview. Thanks for watching.